Coming up tonight on Business Life, we ask, will the cost of credit be slowing down in the coming days as inflation for the month of November 2023 falls significantly to 26.4%?
This literally means that between the month of November 2022 and November 2023, general prices of goods and services went up by 26.4%.
Raises concerns about the proposed terms for restructuring of loans granted to Ghana. Tonight, we are live with a finance lecturer on that. Plus, with 7 days to Christmas, we will find out when the appropriation bill and estimates will be approved as Parliament readies itself to go on recess. We've got details of these and many others coming your way all in a moment. Please stay. Thanks so much for your company. I am Pius Kojo Baka. On to our very first story. Inflation fell significantly to 26.4% for November 2023 from the 35.2% recorded in October 2023. According to figures from the Ghana Statistical Service, food inflation was the major contributor to the decline in the rate of inflation. Now, food inflation dropped by 12.6% to 32.2% in November 2023. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim also explains that the rate for the month-on-month increase was 1.5%. There is more in the following reports.
Is that in the month of November 2023, the rate of increase in prices of goods and services was slower compared to the same period in November 2022. The data also showed that 5 divisions recorded inflation rate higher than the national average. They were alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics, personal care, social protection, and miscellaneous goods and services. This inflation for November is the biggest drop recorded in the year 2023. Here is government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim.
Given these two indices for November 2022 and November 2023, year-on-year inflation for the month of November 2023 stood at 26.4. Year-on-year inflation for the month of November 2023 stood at 26.4%. This 26.4% signifies an 8.8 percentage point drop relative to the rate of inflation that was recorded for October 2023. In October 2023, rate of inflation stood at 35.2, and given the rate of inflation for November 2023, 26.4, we have seen an 8.8 percentage point difference between the year-on-year inflation for October 2023 and November 2023. This literally means that between the months of November 2022 and November 2023, general prices of goods and services went up by 26.4%.
Imported items, however, continue to dominate Ghana's inflation as they recorded 27.1% as against locally produced items, which recorded 26.1%.
On a month-on-month basis, from a food and non-food perspective, we recorded a 1.4 percentage point difference as food inflation month-on-month stood at 0.8% relative to 2.2% for non-food inflation for the month of November 2023. From a locally produced item perspective and an imported item perspective, we recorded a 1.0 percentage point difference as we continue to see the dominance of imported items, recording 27.1% for the month of November 2023 relative to 26.1% for locally produced items for November 2023.
The Western region recorded the highest inflation of 39.8%, whilst the Greater Accra region saw the least inflation of 19.8%.
Now, China has raised concerns about the proposed terms on restructuring of loans granted to Ghana. This could impact on the timeline in which Ghana is expected to secure the second tranche of the International Monetary Fund bailout package of $600 million. George Biafe has the latest.
One of several issues that has come up during the latest round of meetings at the official creditor committee level, co-chaired by France and China. Based on the engagement that Joy Business has had with persons with knowledge of these meetings, China is making a strong case for the proposed cuts on interest to be paid on these debts to be shared fairly. This is to ensure that the proposed debt treatment terms is the same for all the European countries that Ghana is indebted, as well as the multilateral institutions. There are also concerns about how the debt sustainability analysis was carried out, which formed the basis for the bilateral debt treatment. China has also argued that based on Ghana's improved economic position, some fresh debt sustainability analysis should be carried out. Joy Business understands that China is even carrying out its own debt sustainability analysis, which may influence any fresh proposals that could be tabled soon. All these developments earlier forced the IMF to reschedule Ghana's board meeting to some few days before the end of this year. But based on these fresh developments, could Ghana miss out on getting the second tranche of IMF cash before the end of this year? Well, time will tell. But things are now looking very difficult.
George, we have filed that report, and I would like to bring in the views of finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Seyram Kawo, who has joined us via Zoom. Seyram, thanks so much for joining me on Business Live. First off, I would want you to have a bite on the inflation figures we are seeing now, 26.4% from the 35.2% recorded in October. Significant, you would say?
We cannot say that because the rate of inflation has dropped by 8% or so we should be happy. What the 26.4% is telling us is that the prices on the market are still increasing, but they are increasing at a decreasing rate. And so we still have a lot of hardship in the system, and then the prices of items will continue to go up. The good news for businesses is that they can now plan and know how they are going to spend on the market.
Talking about businesses, I'm very much interested in that because I'm thinking it should have a sort of correlation with the cost of credit, right?
Yes, it should have some relationship with the cost of credit. But we know that the Monetary Planning Committee of Bank of Ghana had maintained the policy rate. And once it has maintained the policy rate, the cost of credit is still much higher. We find ourselves in a very difficult situation where we are not able to get funding from the international market. And so we are borrowing from the local market. Borrowing from the local market means that you need to give incentives to the citizens to give you their money as against the businesses. So government is borrowing so much, and the rate at which they are borrowing from the market is over 30%, which means that the banks and businesses are fighting for funds. So the banks will invest with government at the rate of over 30%. And so lending to the businesses and individuals in the country for them to use for their businesses will still be very high. So we have a long way to go in the country. We can only get those things coming down if we have been able to get out of these debt exchange issues that we are looking at, get the IMF money coming in, and be ready to go back to the international financial market to borrow so that there will not be so much pressure on the businesses that we have in the country. As we speak currently, government is crowding out the businesses that we have in the country. And once they are crowding out the businesses, it becomes very difficult for businesses to flourish, create the employment that we need, increase productivity, and that will lead to the reduction in inflation that we want to see in the near future.
I don't know what your thoughts on this, but there's been concerns that, well, looking at the rate at which inflation is dropping, it is enough justification for the Monetary Policy Committee to review the policy rate downwards. Do you agree to that assertions?
I may partly agree with it, but it will be early days yet. The rate of inflation of 26% is still high. And once it is still high, if the Monetary Policy Committee reduces that particular rate, they may not be able to achieve the things that they want to achieve. The policy rate goes hand in hand with the fiscal policy of government. And so government should be able to manage its expenditure, cut down its expenditure, and that will go a long way to affect the rates that we are seeing on the market. But if the rate comes down and government is still spending that much, then we will have a zero net game that we want to play.
So in essence, you're suggesting that we are not likely to see policy rates, reduced in the near future, right?
It will reduce. If it is going to reduce, it may reduce marginally, but not so much significant reduction that we will find in that.
All right, let's talk now about Ghana-China external matters. Of course, we do know that China is raising a number of concerns based on this report we are learning. Your thoughts, first off, on the case China is making for proposed cut on interest to be shared fairly and debt treatment terms to be same for all creditor countries. Your thoughts?
This is a point where you realize that China is actually fighting for the country Ghana, trying to say that anytime that there is going to be a haircut, then that haircut should be distributed equally among all the external creditors of the country. We have had a situation in our domestic debt exchange where the haircut has not been proportionate. So there has been disproportionate issuance of the haircut where some groups have a higher amount, some do not have that. But with the external creditors, they are out of the country. And so any treatment that will seem to favor a particular country will not be accepted by China. And that is what they are proposing currently. Once China is coming out with that, it means that the suggestion that there will be a haircut would not affect all the countries equally, thereby giving advantage to some countries and putting others at a disadvantaged position. Hence the call that they are giving, and it is purely justified.
How about concerns regarding debt sustainability analysis carried out? It wants fresh analysis to be carried out, and according to the report, well, China is carrying out its own debt sustainability analysis.
Yeah, that is only telling us that the geopolitics around the world is playing a role in what is happening today. We have the Bretton Woods institution, IMF, and the rest with the Western world that are looking at this debt sustainability analysis. China is also telling you that they are superpowers and they do things their own way. So if you do not share the data that you are using with us, and we do not understand how you came by the debt sustainability that you've done, then we would also carry out our own debt sustainability analysis to make a firm decision on whether we are going to be part, or they are already part, whether we're going to accept the terms that the government of Ghana is actually bringing on board. And that brings a whole lot of delays that the country is going to face in the next tranche of $600 million that we want to get from the International Monetary Fund. And that, as I said, I told you earlier on, that fund may not come this year, but we may be getting it in the next quarter.
I see. I don't know what you make of this, but is this deliberate on the part of China proven tough? Because it looks like it may want a lengthy repayment plan.
The devil himself knows not the thought of a man. And so it becomes very difficult for us to know what China is thinking. But they might just be making sure that they make the right decision that will also favor them at the end of the period. It's just going to be very tough for us. If we are open and transparent and we bring sunshine onto the things that we do, we may not be finding it difficult with China when we go to them. And so what we will ask government to do is to share the data, the information with the Paris Club chaired by France and China so that they will reach an amicable solution. Once China is coming in, it means that they are not comfortable with some of the conditions, maybe in their favor, or they realize that it is going to go against Ghana. And for that matter, there is the need for them to fight so that Ghana will also get a favorable condition. Around the world, what happens is that there are countries that go to borrow, and they go and borrow at a reduced rate. But we realize that Africa, and especially Ghana, when we go, they will use issues of political issues. The economy is not very tough. is not vibrant, and for that matter, there is a lot of risks. And so we end up paying higher interest rates on the monies that we borrow. And I'm sure that is what China is actually looking at.
All right. We are indeed grateful, Sarah Mkawa, for your time here on Business Live, sharing your perspective with us. You're still watching Business Live. We're taking a breather. We'll be right back with more. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. And I would like to take you to Parliament because with just 7 working days before we go for Christmas, we ask, what is the status of the appropriation bill and estimates for the next year following the approval of the 2024 budget last week? Now, let's get on to Zoom for more details from our parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, for more on that. Kweku, thanks for joining me on Business Live. Again, what is happening to the 2024 budget estimates and appropriation, you would say? Unmute for me, Kweku.
The various committees having to work on the various estimates of the various MDAs, the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. In fact, just gone by, about 2 billion Ghana cedis have been approved for the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. Yesterday and 2 days ago, there were budget estimates approved for the Office of the Special Prosecutor, National Media Commission. Today, there was the Youth and Sports Ministry. So a number of ministries, departments, and agencies have had their budgetary allocations to them, their estimates passed, and that is what is currently happening. We know that the fight over the budget itself and the statement of economic policy has been dispatched. That decision has already been taken. So all this will culminate next week, Friday, hopefully, in the passage of the appropriation bill, because before the appropriation bill will be passed, all the constituent estimates of the departments and agencies will have to be passed, as well as the financial bills. We know that government is seeking about 12 billion, around 11 billion, I should say, in terms of new revenue to show up government's coffers. So that is also currently before the Finance Committee. So that is the work that is currently being done, Pius. And as we hear the bells toll, the House is being reconvened. There was a suspension about an hour ago for MPs to take a break, go back to committees and finish their work. And the call is for them to come back for the work to continue.
And from where you are, do you think that the number of days left before the House goes on recess is achievable or feasible for us to see the necessary approvals?
Well, yes, if anything that we've seen in previous years is to go by, definitely by the 22nd of December when Parliament will adjourn for Christmas, all the various estimates for the respective ministry, department, and agencies would have been passed. The appropriation itself will be passed. Of course, there haven't been much that have become a controversy on the floor so far. There's not that controversy currently. And so we expect that by the 22nd, where sitting will largely draw deep into the night, all this business will be done. And before MPs go on break, the appropriation will be passed and everything would have been given to the finance minister.
Well, I don't know whether you have been interacting with the Finance Committee on the latest inflation rate. We are seeing 26.4%. That's great news for most businesses in the country. Have you been getting some reactions from members of the Committee of Finance?
It hasn't come up on the floor yet, but of course the talk around in Parliament is that this is good, especially from the majority side. The minority, there are some who believe that probably the Ghana Statistical Service is probably massaging the figures to make government.
Rather unfortunate, we've lost Kweku Asante there. We shall go to him as and when we need more clarifications. And away from Parliament, the I2 Development Group has cut sword for the construction of its state-of-the-art facilities at the airport city. The project, which is estimated to cost $100 million, aims to enhance Kotoka International Airport skyline and play a key role in increasing Ghana's tourism sector. Co-founder and managing director of the company said the project will play a crucial role in attracting visitors and fostering economic development in the country. He spoke to Joy Business at the grand launch of the I2 development project in Accra.
New development, Christian Prestige, which is located adjacent to the airport Shell fuel station and directly opposite the Marina Mall, is set to add to the beauty of the airport skyline, redefine luxury living in Ghana's capital, and play a key role in increasing the country's tourism receipts.
So we have witnessed today the grand launch of our signature project, Prestige by I2 Development. Prestige is strategically located within the enclave of Kotoka International Airport, 1 minute walking distance from Terminal 3. Prestige includes Wonderland, one of its kind theme park exclusively dedicated for children. Since it is within the enclave of the airport, it's going to have aviation as its main concept with flight simulator, arcades, etc. We're going to have also a commercial stretch of luxury boutiques, restaurants, coffee shops, in addition to La Casa, which is the residential building that comprises studios of 28 square meters, 36, 48, one-bedroom apartment, two-bedroom, all the way to penthouses.
Chairman of the I2 Development Group Ghana, Nabil Ahmad, stressed that the project is scheduled to be completed within 3 years from the sword-cutting date, and when completed would be the biggest apartment in the airport enclave.
Quality in terms of location, in terms of facility around our building. So if you put all together, you will find that we are one of the best. Because we start from the one bedroom up to the penthouse. So we are targeting the whole segment of the people. The expectation of the real estate in Ghana always is high. Because as I was saying, because of always the democracy of the country, the stability of the country, and the infrastructure of this country. So we always appreciate our motherland, Ghana.
Minister for Works and Housing Frances Asenso-Boakye said government will continue to partner the private sector.
I therefore applaud the effective collaboration between the public and private sectors that has brought about the realization of this vision. It serves as a testament to the potency of partnerships in accomplishing mutual objectives.
The project is expected to cater for the ultimate luxury living, whether one opts for a studio, 1 or 2 bedroom, or a penthouse at an affordable rate.
And that's it for Business Live for today. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. There you go. Inflation falls to 26.4% in November 2023. External debt restructuring in China will always negotiate hard. Ghana must accept it. Dr. Theo Champon there. Great stories on that portal. See you at 8 p.m. with Prime Business. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.